And so we will be taking breaks. I interviewed all of the board members ahead of time, and in addition to wanting to hear from the departments, some of the top topics that came up were university relations, growth, downtown and economic development, and then some other quicker topics about the budget philosophy and some best practices and things like that. So we'll have time for that. And then before we adjourn, we'll get the board priorities. Our purpose for being here today is we want to understand the departmental priorities for the upcoming year, provide the board an opportunity to discuss some of the key issues, develop the short and long-term priorities. And one really important outcome is to have the board members in alignment and the staff in alignment about what the key issues and priorities are for the coming year. I just to get us all oriented, you know, the board members, you're all participants. The staff is here as resources for you. I'm here to facilitate your conversation. This is on a Zoom webinar, so there may be others, you know, the press or public is invited to attend, but they're observers. I put down some ground rules, you know, take turns speaking and listening. We'll try and speak one person at a time. It's okay to disagree, but do so respectfully. So before we jump into the day, are there any questions or clarifications about the agenda or additions to rules or outcomes you'd like to propose? Can I turn my mic up?
Yes, please.
Let me.
I have everything on mine maxed out, so.
Okay. Audio settings. Is that better?
Try that again, Julie.
Can you hear me okay?
Is that better? Was that better? Well, I was going to turn off the fan down here, so that'll help.
Okay. Should I keep going?
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. All right. So I sent folks a link ahead of time to this mural board. If anyone doesn't have the mural board, I can paste it in the chat. Throughout the day, if you want to participate on the mural board, you are welcome to. So I'm going to give you a quick orientation to it. You click on the link and you should be able to enter the mural board as a visitor. You shouldn't have to give your email or anything. You can change your name if you want your name to show up. Otherwise, it'll give you just some, you know, visiting sea turtle as, or some animal as your name. The first thing to notice, if you see my mouse in the bottom corner, is this sort of map of the entire mural board. And you can use that to zoom in or out of the mural board and see where we are. So we started up in that agenda area. Now you can zoom in and out. You can also click on this hand to move the mural board around. Click on the hand again if you want to add some sticky notes. So we're virtual. We're hoping that we can mimic some of the things you might do in person. And then up in the left-hand upper corner, there's this little box that kind of looks like a sticky note, and you can click on that, and then you could click and drag your own sticky note over to type something. And then you could zoom in again and get back to where you were and if you all want to practice right now and try and put a sticky note on and type your name, you can practice putting a sticky note on real quick. So I know Phyllis and Emily have both put up a sticky note. I'll pause for a minute to see if anyone has some questions or wants to do it. If you don't want to do this throughout the day, I am happy for you to say, Julie, this is what I want to say here, and I will type the sticky notes for you. So I'll be quiet for a second and ask if anyone has any questions about this or if they want to try putting a sticky note on.
I've got to ask the question, are these nicknames made up or people keep their own self?
Random.
Okay, I thought.
Yes. So if I could hear from the board members, look, we've got some people getting fancy there. Happy Friday. If I could hear from the board members, if you think that you would want to write some of these sticky notes yourself as we go through things, or if you want me to do it for you.
Julie, good morning. This is Davis. I'm working on just downloading it and trying to catch up to some of the rest of the folks. So I'll try my best to use the app.
All right, great.
I like it personally.
Great, thank
Likewise,
you.
Miss Julie. Once I get into town hall, I'll be able to be involved with sticky notes. I had issues getting it on my iPad. For some reason, my iPad wouldn't let me download the app, but I brought my computer, so I'll be able to do it then.
Okay, great. And are there some of you that would want me to do sticky notes on your behalf?
Hey, Julie, this is Monty. I would prefer you do that. If it's challenging for Quinn to do it on an iPad, then I know it will be doubly challenging for me.
Okay, great.
This is Mark. I think I can figure it out, but you know, I'm technology challenged as well, so I'll do the best I can. But I think I'm on it now, so I should be okay.
Okay, great. And staff, you're welcome to also play around with it. I know a couple of you are on there as well. So with your permission, then I'll move to our first discussion, and that is for the board members. Take a minute and think about what a successful retreat would look like for you. And then thinking a year from now for the town of Elon, what would success look like? And if you're comfortable with the sticky notes, feel free to add a sticky note with what success looks like. And I'll give you all a few minutes, and I will also, or a minute or two, I'm happy to start hearing from folks. So,
Hey, Julie, this is Monty. I'll chime in. One thing I think would be interesting, and maybe we're going to do that along the course of the day, but obviously you did not facilitate our meeting last year, so you're probably at a disadvantage of knowing what we talked about as a priority versus and what our goals were then, as opposed to what we've accomplished in the past year since that.
so wanting to hear about the accomplishments since the last retreat?
Yeah, we set goals last year.
Mm-hmm.
Did we obtain any or all of them or exceed them?
Great. And Quinn in the chat said everyone engaging, so I added his note. Thinking, Emily has clear priorities for the board and staff.
I'm using hot pink as my color of choice.
Lovely. Other board members, what's success look like for the retreat?
This is Mark. I was starting to do my sticky note, but I'll do it the old fashioned way. Basically, I think, we're still in the pandemic. Everybody talks about, oh, well, 2020 is over. 2021 is going to be just as challenging, if not more so, to be honest with you. So from a budgeting perspective, for a planning perspective, we've got to keep that in mind, not just for 2021, but for a few years out. I think we have to plan, but we also have to be very flexible with what we're doing. I think we all realize that. I'm kind of speaking the obvious because we've all lived through this, but I think we're far from over from a financial standpoint, and I'm a little concerned that actually things might get a little worse financially. So just thoughts there, not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but I think realistically we've got to think about those things.
Great, yeah. Other board members, what does success look like for you?
Sorry, Julie, I'm still trying to get I'm having the same trouble that I think that Quinn may have run into. It keeps telling me that it's got an incorrect or invalid address for the mural. But I'd say actionable items would be an outcome for the board. It's nice to be able to talk about things that we'd like to do and would hope to do, aspirational type goals, I guess. But I also would like to have down-to-earth actionable items that we could work on to accomplish.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor?
I'm thinking
Okay.
we're still involved with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
As I reflect on this past year, I think we've done an exceptional job considering what we had to do. And also, under the direction of the town manager, I think we have moved forward in a very positive manner. And we just need to make sure, in looking forward, that we're still in the pandemic, and we need to set some real good, realistic goals for next year.
Perfect, thank you. And did, Monty, did I hear from you?
You did.
All
I
right,
think,
you did.
yeah. Unless you want more than one.
If you have more than one, that's fine. I'm just, since I didn't see your face while we were talking.
I think success is to give encouragement and hope to our staff about how the town's operating, as well as our citizens. Davis?
Sound a little gruff there.
Sorry about that. I've got a overzealous guard dog here at the house. It's hard to tell whether I'm beating him or if he's actually doing his job, but he's actually doing his job.
So I think we've overlapped a little between success for the retreat and 1 year from now, but I'd like to open it and sort of repeat. Are there things that if you were next year at your retreat, how would you look back and say, oh, we've been a successful town if you're a year from now?
Well, I'll kind of reiterate a little bit what I said. I think we do first of all, it's great for all of us to get together, although, virtual is a little different, but I think we're all getting used to that. I think really making sure, again, we set realistic goals, and we look at this meeting as to kind of, throw out some ideas as to what may be realistic with our budget, what could happen potentially. And then we'll see, hopefully, next year, this time we'll be in a much better place, but I think I can't reiterate enough the being realistic with what we are faced with. In retreats past, we've looked at, different capital goals we've had, projects, those type of things, and we still have to look at that. Don't misunderstand, but I do believe we've got to look at the realistic part of it, and then hopefully a year from now we're in a much better place. But I think that we can have a positive view of it, but also a realistic view.
Mm-hmm. Great. Others thinking about a year from now?
Julie, this is Davis. I think for me, I would like to see obvious changes in the town or in the way the town operates. And I mean that to say that we have been changing over time, but as you go through, if you drive through the downtown on a regular basis, and if you go interact with the town and the town council and the town personnel on a regular basis, the changes that we made are usually pretty subtle and we don't really realize them over time. So I'd like for, a year from now to be able to stand in one place or be in a meeting or have an experience with some of the town staff or one of the town departments that says, that's an obvious difference from where we were a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Great. And hopefully, as we go through the day, hearing from the different departments and the different topics, we can hear from you all some of those examples of what those changes would be, so that we know how to quantify and feel what those obvious changes are. Okay. Emily, you want to read yours out for us?
So I said putting plans into action, which is something that I think I say every year, is taking the plans that we have and really having, I think really visible action. A lot of things in our plans we have done, but it's not really things that our residents see get done, so some of those things that really help our residents to see all the work that is being done. I put able to gather in person. I think we all would consider that a success, where we can all come together, see each other's faces, shake hands, bump elbows, give hugs. I think we all are ready for that. And then to have an agreement with the university in place for a payment in lieu of taxes. That's something that we've been talking about for as long as I've been around, and I think that we're probably closer than we've ever been, even with even with kind of the barriers to that. But I think that our relationship with the university is really good, and if anything, I think COVID has maybe brought us together a little more, and just utilize taking advantage of that good relationship and getting that agreement in place.
Great, thank you. Other board members thinking a year from now, what do we want to be able to look back on and see what success looked like? Monty or Mayor?
Well, I think a lot of the ones that have been mentioned already. I think obviously some of the pressing things from a capitalization requirements that we're looking at with the wastewater pump station, that's a big issue ahead of us. I would hope by this time next year this will be resolved and we will have a clear understanding about what we've got to deal with in the ongoing basis as well as how we're gonna pay for it. And we would have decided that by then.
Great.
As well as other infrastructural expenses that we're faced with now.
Well, this is the mayor. I would hope that we would, and I think we will, successfully navigate this pandemic. I think that's curtailed a lot of things that we'd like to do but hadn't been able to do. So I would like to see that.
Yes. That's great. All right. So it's helpful to set your intentions at the beginning of the retreats to know where you want to end up at the end, both for the day and thinking a year from now. Before we move on, any other additions to what success looks like? All right, and we're going to then move on to accomplishments. And my question, this is for you all as well as the staff, is to share some of the biggest accomplishments that you have had in the past year. And I know when I talked to all of you, successfully navigating the pandemic so far, knowing that it's not done, has come up from everyone. So you might have some specific details to add to that as one of your big accomplishments for the past year. And if you do, feel free to just add it under that heading. But I'd encourage everyone, board and staff, to share some of the accomplishments that you have had. And I think more of the staff are in here on Post-it notes, so feel free and go ahead and start typing, and then I'd be opening it up to the board for some of their ideas.
Well, I think what I'm most proud of is our town staff. Because they're the ones that had to move this town forward with guidance from the board. But I'm exceptionally pleased with our new town manager and what he has accomplished. And I've been proud of his knowledge of running a town. Of course, he's done it before, but I think he's done an exceptional job here under adverse conditions with the pandemic. Another accomplishment, I think, for Phyllis Chambers, I have really been impressed with what's happening out at the parks, both Florence Slade and Bess Smith. I hear nothing but great compliments about how we have the best parks in town and they're run by outstanding people.
That's great. Getting some thumbs up on all of those. Other additions to the accomplishments?
I think that I keep going back to budgeting because that's kind of what part of what I do. But I do think Rich and Misty and the staff have done an incredible job in keeping us in good financial condition during this time. We started a budget last year before the pandemic hit, and we completely changed that budget within about 3 or 4 weeks. And I want to credit them. Monty and I are on that committee, but they're the ones that really know the X's and O's on it. And, we did take a conservative approach, and I think we've really been pleasantly surprised with how the finances have gone. I also want to mention too, I think, we've all brought up the relationship between the town and the university. And I think Emily mentioned it. We're starting to see some really good dialogue there. I know we'll hear a little more about that later on, but I think that's critical to the success of our town. And so I'm very pleased with that as well. So I think all things considered, we've had a very productive year, with the limitations that we've all done. And as the mayor said, the staff has done an incredible job over that time frame to keep things in order when they've been chaotic. So kudos to them.
That's great.
This is Monty. One thing I appreciate, and I think it's a combination of a lot of people participating, so I don't want to single out one person, but I think the periodic and weekly information we get either from a telephone call or an email has been very helpful for the citizens and myself as well to know what's happening in our community as well as around us. And I appreciate Kathleen and Pam and Rich's input on doing that. It's one of those things where it's not too often, but I think it's just enough that we hear from our town and our citizens hear from us.
Okay, I want to just make sure I understood it. You're getting updates from town staff as well as from citizens about what's going on?
No, it goes out to the citizens. It's a
Oh,
broadcast.
gotcha.
People can opt in.
Gotcha. Other accomplishments?
I think, as it's been mentioned before, in the pandemic, I think our town staff, particularly maintenance, being able to operate on a flexible schedule without seeing a loss in services has been a great accomplishment. I think a lot of times people just take that for granted that things continue to work. Well, they've had to work in the conditions that most of us have as well, and I don't think we've seen a drop off in those services.
Great.
I think one of our huge accomplishments has been the retaining of most of our businesses through a pandemic. You know, that's been a great success that we've had, and you know, Kathleen has been a great help at facilitating a bunch of information to our downtown businesses to keep us on board and aware of any grants and helps that we can do. And then our last board meeting, doing a review of our audit, it seems, you know, a great success was how financially stable we were able to manage through a year of the unknown.
That's great. Any other, we've got some developing trust with staff, learning the talents of staff, weathering crises, mostly kept everyone safe. Their accomplishments.
I'll add one more. I think Chief Blackwelder and her staff have really shown the initiative to better themselves professionally as well as involved in the community. And I appreciate we had the opportunity to recognize several of her staff for things they accomplished from their professional aspects. So I think that's encouraging to see that you have staff that want to be the best they can be.
That's great.
Julie, I'm working with 3 different devices right now. So I don't have the Mural Board pulled up, but I will say for Diane, to be able to master this Zoom stuff, I had never heard of Zoom in my life, and I'm in my senior years. Yeah, that.
That's great.
And we've only had one Zoom bomb, praise the Lord.
All right. Well, you've done a lot in a very difficult situation. So you should all be proud of what you've done. And I think we will keep moving then to departmental presentations. And so something moved on the board. I'm gonna readjust this, but I've got areas where I'll be taking notes during the presentations of some key items. If any of you want to add things, we can you can do that as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And the first presentation, the first department is downtown development and communications. So I'll turn it over to Kathleen at this point.
Hey there, just give me a second and I'll share my screen. And get started. All right. We were asked to envision what we want our departments to look like in 5 years and what we want to accomplish. This is what I envision accomplishing in downtown by 2026. The updated master plan for downtown, all the implementations will be completed and we will be kicking off the third 5-year plan for 2031. The 2017 parking study recommendations for additional parking downtown will be complete, with West Lebanon Avenue parking created and a new parking structure built internal to the first block. North Williamson Avenue will be redesigned to include wide sidewalks, bike lanes, beautiful planters, and outdoor dining areas. West Haggard Avenue will be developed with commercial and residential buildings, wide sidewalks, bike lanes, and on-street parking. The first block of West College Avenue will have become our gathering space downtown, with open space for events, outdoor dining, and public art. Landowners will work with us to recreate our downtown into an area that is home to more commercial and retail locations, with upper floor residential spaces open to anyone. And in each new development, a pocket park provides respite for people living and working in downtown Elon. In the next 2 years, but we have to break it down into bite-sized pieces. So in the next 2 years, I see top priorities as follows: updating the downtown master plan to align it with the comprehensive plan and the new land development ordinance, and developing an economic development strategic plan. Completing the parking infrastructure recommended in 2017 parking study by constructing the remaining section of West Lebanon Avenue parking and beginning the process of obtaining the parking areas internal to the first block of downtown for a parking structure to serve customers and employees. We'd like to design and construct the initial gathering space on West College Avenue, where currently we have the outdoor dining located. Increase our ability to help our businesses by creating a public-private entity called the Downtown Elon Corporation, and create a municipal service district downtown with the support of the landowners to help facilitate the infrastructure improvements needed and wanted in downtown. Looking beyond the next 2 years, downtown Elon will become the destination for residents, students, faculties, and visitors. North Williamson Avenue and West Haggard Avenue will be reimagined and recreated with wide sidewalks, bike lanes, outdoor dining, and beautiful landscaping, an area that begs you to spend time shopping, eating, and just hanging out downtown. Adding on to the West College gathering space by turning the remainder of the first block into a place where you can walk amongst public art, attend a festival, or just have a spot to relax during a hectic day. Encouraging development that increases the ability to live and work downtown with targeted, well-designed commercial and residential spaces that improve the property tax base, increase the sales tax base, and increase the number of residents living downtown. And last but not least, making sure the small pocket parks are part of the redevelopment efforts so people can have spaces to enjoy a small bit of nature in a growing area, and creating a collection of public art in downtown, from colorful crosswalks and painted streets to murals and sculptures, each piece creating unique experiences for people as they walk, shop, eat, and work downtown. Now, where I'm switching gears to go to communications. So let's talk about 5 years goals for increased communications with the residents and visitors to Elon. We have a place in the regular pieces, such as a newsletter and website, but we could do more. In 2019, we launched a new website, and it is being used, but we can't get lax in what is on it. This year, we have been updating the site with departmental updates and changes to navigation. This will continue so that we are providing up-to-date and accurate information. And one area that we need to improve is public participation, and a tool called Bang the Table is available to help us increase understanding of ongoing and future projects, as well as increasing public participation and input. This will help our residents feel like their opinion is valued and let us hear what they really want. As times change, we have to evolve to make sure we reach as many of our constituents as possible. Social media is one such way, and we should continue to increase our presence online and look at providing more engaging ways to keep the community informed of what is happening. For instance, hosting an online chat such as Coffee with Davis, or filming a department for a day in the life of segment. Any questions? And I hope I got that in the 5-minute time frame.
You were speedy.
You did a good job, Kathleen.
Okay.
Looks very bold to me. You've got a lot of work to do.
I think with that, the downtown communications and the whole town, it's worth it. So I think we should just get it done.
You are planning to stay with us to do all that, aren't you?
That's my hope.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
Just a comment, I think Kathleen, I'm on the downtown committee, a couple committees, and Kathleen has done an awesome job in keeping our downtown emphasis going during the pandemic. And I think Quinn mentioned earlier, we've been fortunate to have our businesses downtown do well. And so I want to thank Kathleen for all her hard work with that and getting the Main Street program up and going and continuing. So done a very good job with that.
Thank you.
So I'll just share my key takeaways. We're trying to make downtown as a destination. We've got pocket parks, public art, walkable bike lanes as key features. And then on communication, up-to-date website, increasing public participation and more social media presence. And downtown as a destination is a tiny summary for a big vision. So board members, if there were other key takeaways, particularly thinking ahead of to the afternoon and what you want your priorities to be that you'd want captured on here, we could add that. Or we can move on as well.
This is Monty. I think that was an excellent presentation, but I think this is going to lead into further discussions about, how do you make it happen? A lot of it's got to do with development, either private or by the town, and so I think these are great ideas, but we all know at the end of the day, it's how you're going to provide those, how you're going to do the expansion of simple services like expanded sidewalks, creating these parklets. Where did we do this, and who's going to partner with us? So I'm encouraged, but I know this it's not going to be easy to do.
All right. Any other feedback or questions from the board? Okay. Next up is fire. So Rich is taking the fire chief role today.
I will do my best. Okay, and it always changes on a different computer. There we go.
Slideshow, I can see it.
Yeah.
Slideshow, I think.
There we go.